This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about the best investment accounts for grandchildren, according to me. Today, I'm talking about why I love the 529 college savings plans and why it is my absolute go-to when clients come to me asking for advice on they have a new grandchild, maybe their grandchild is, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. What type of account should I set up? And I usually recommend the 529 college savings plan. Now, if your grandchild is definitely not going to go to any sort of post-high school schooling, doesn't even have to be a university. 529 accounts, you can use them for other types of school. I'll explain that in a minute. So there are definitely circumstances where you wouldn't utilize the 529 if you didn't expect to or want to earmark any funds for education. But I would say most parents and grandparents, it's an important goal for them. They want to help save for college education, maybe a trade school. It can even help pay for apprenticeship programs. It can even help with student loan repayments. So 529s, we all know it's no secret. College is very expensive. Any type of schooling beyond the K through 12 is very expensive. And so, we want to help pay for that. And a lot of grandparents, that's an important goal. If you have any desire to pay for some type of education for your grandchild, then I would recommend looking seriously at a 529 plan. So 529, it's an investment account and it's specifically earmarked for paying for college or some other type of education. And they're popular and worth consideration because of a couple of things. One is the tax benefits that they provide, but also they're pretty flexible and they have much higher contribution limits compared to some similar education. So the 529 college savings plan is not the only education earmarked savings account that you could set up. It's not the only game in town, but it is the best because of the different benefits that it offers. Okay, so let's talk about some of the basics around these 529 plans. So first of all, they're funded with after-tax dollars. A lot of times, if you're a grandparent, you're going to contribute to those. Most grandparents will limit those contributions up to the gift tax limit, so they're not going to have to file a gift tax return or eat into some sort of exclusion that they have. So it complicates things, and most grandparents aren't going to be saving more than the gift tax in a given year anyways, but I'll actually come back to that in a minute. So it's funded with after-tax dollars. Then the money grows tax-free. As long as it's in that account, you could set that up when the child is a little baby and it could grow for 18 years until they go off to college or wherever they go. And then it gets used. And all the while, it never got taxed. The other important benefit is that as long as you use the money for what's called qualified education expenses, the money when you pull it out is not taxed either. So it works a lot like a Roth IRA, but specifically earmarked for college. So after-tax money, tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals, as long as you meet certain criteria. And anyone can contribute to these accounts. So you as the grandparent could set up the account. A parent could set up an account. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. The funding can come from multiple sources. So I also like the flexibility there as well. The flexibility too, as it comes to what you could use it for. So you could pay for college. Maybe they're going to a private school. You can also actually use 529 funds for K through 12 tuition. Although I don't recommend it because college is so much more expensive. If you're not able to pay for K through 12 tuition out of income or other more immediate sources, we don't want to use 529 funds for that. We want to maximize the tax benefits, let it grow so that it maybe grows for 10, 15 years or more ideally, and then we're using it for something post-high school. So it can be used for apprenticeship programs. It can be used for student loan repayments. You just want to look up what is qualified education expenses. The list is pretty broad as far as what it can be used for. And that's nice because not every grandchild is going to go through to a 4-year university. So it's reassuring to know that there is flexibility and that qualified education expenses doesn't just mean a 4-year university. It can be used for a lot of other education expenses as well. The other nice thing in terms of flexibility is that if you have money that doesn't get used, I've yet to see one of these personally because college ends up being way more expensive than any funds. And you can transfer unused funds to other beneficiaries. So there are other maybe siblings, somebody else in the family who could then use it. You could also move some of those leftover funds to a Roth IRA and use that as the foundation for starting a Roth, like the seed money that goes in. Now, there are restrictions on this, so you just want to keep that in mind. But again, they're pretty flexible, especially if you don't end up using all of the money. Now, I mentioned you should try to stay under the gift tax limit in a given year. That is $18,000 for 2024. You can contribute more than that, though. There are some strategies called super funding that allow you to make larger lump sum contributions. And that's also what makes a 529 plan a good estate planning tool, especially if you expect to have a larger estate, or maybe you have a windfall and you have the financial capacity to make a large lump sum contribution. Maybe you didn't save for 10 years and now they're going into middle school and you want to kind of supercharge that and maximize the growth in a given year. So those are all reasons why you might want to super fund it or do larger lump sum contributions. But there are some aggregate contribution limits, like you can't exceed a certain dollar amount over the lifetime of the 529 plan, but that's generally pretty high too. On the low end, it's about $235,000, and on the high end, it's over $500,000 that you could contribute over the lifetime of the plan. So again, pretty flexible with options. I know this episode is getting long in the teeth, but again, it is my favorite investment vehicle. I have one set up for all 4 of my kids. And I did that as soon as I possibly could. I think I had them all set up by the time that they were a year old, because you want to maximize that growth. But a strategy that I like for this is, if you are the grandparent, partner with the parent and provide matching contributions. So hopefully the parents have the ability to save some. You could challenge them, say, hey, look, can you save $250 a month? And then if you match that dollar for dollar, or you could even do $2 for every $1 that they match if they can't do quite that much. But I use this as an example because $250 a month plus your $250 a month would be $6,000 a year going into that. Now, if you do that until the child is around 10, 12 years old, and it grows about 7% a year, you're going to end up saving $100,000 for college by the time that child is right around late elementary, early middle school age. So you have this nice, large fund already in the 529. And then if you stop contributions and let it continue to grow until age 18, you could expect to have around $150,000 saved for college, which is, that gives you a lot of flexibility on where they go to school, what they do, and they're not going to be burdened with student loans for 10 plus years after college. Now, getting your grandchild through college or a trade school or whatever they decide to do with very little to no debt is so important. And that's another reason why I love these accounts, because part of the reason why so many young people struggle to save or buy a house or get ahead financially or save for retirement as early as they should is because of the crushing amount of student loan debt that hangs over their heads for many, many years. Now, I've known people who have gone on to graduate school, law school, and they won't even be paying off their student loans until they're in their 50s. So we want to avoid that, or at least minimize that to the extent that we can. So if you can take care of college costs, you don't have to take care of all of it, but if you can take care of the bulk of it, and also if you can partner with mom and dad, you'll remove that burden, and your grandchild will be more likely to save and invest earlier, own a home at a younger age. And this all has a ripple effect in helping them get married, start a family, and establish good financial habits early in life. And because of that ripple effect, the likelihood that it will get used at some point for some type of post-high school education, and the fact that your future adultish grandchild can't just use the money for anything that they please, that makes the 529 my favorite vehicle for grandparents to save and invest on behalf of their grandchildren. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.